Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Hold for Hold Pro Wrestling channel. I'm your host, your brother Jaime, and today we are going to be discussing this huge weekend of wrestling that we had. What was it? Yesterday, the day before, on Friday night, I covered WWE SmackDown. I gave it my full attention, and I only watched SmackDown on Friday. But as we know, there was some counter programming going on Friday night as SmackDown bled 30 minutes into Rampage's time. And so Tony Khan decided to hold a buy-in on YouTube that featured what is possibly going to be my match of the year, Minoru Suzuki taking on Bryan Danielson on YouTube for free. That started, I believe, at 8 o'clock Central Time. So it bled into the last hour and a half of SmackDown. So we had some real head-to-head competition going on that night on Friday night. I personally, I can't watch two wrestling shows at the same time, and I wanted to give Danielson Minoru Suzuki my entire attention. So I held off. I watched both Buy-In, Rampage, and Dynamite the last couple nights, just catching up on everything. 4 hours of wrestling that we're going to be discussing today. Everything from the AEW side, we're going to be talking about. And so before we get into anything else, I need to do the YouTube plugs. You know, I got to grow this business the best I can. So make sure you guys are following the channel, subscribing to the channel on YouTube and on Twitch. Follow us here on Twitch just so you can know when we go live here. I do film everything live here on Twitch. And yeah, give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to take it back at the end if you really hate me, but I don't think you will. Anyways, you guys, like I said, 4 hours of Rampage to cover. So let's jump right into it. As we had the buy-in, this was free on YouTube. This was 1 hour long, commercial free. It's still uploaded on YouTube. So if you want to go check it out, please do. Just check it out, come back, hear my thoughts about it. But this was absolutely worth the watch. We start off the buy-in with Tay Conti and Santana Garrett. Great to see Santana Garrett here in AEW. I know she was signed to NXT for a little while, and nothing really came of her main roster call-up. So glad to see her here, getting some great time to shine here. Match starts off pretty nice. They exchange holds to start. Garrett gets control with a handspring back elbow in the corner. She locks in a mutilock with a beautiful bridge on it. And Tay Conti has to break the hold by kicking out Garrett's leg. So effectively just breaking the bridge. It was a really smart strategy move there. You don't see that very often. And Taz was fantastic calling this match. He called out a lot of the technical aspects. In fact, the last couple nights, especially with Rampage, he was calling out a lot of the technical side of wrestling that I really, really enjoy that insight from. But anyways, later on, we get a double facebuster spot. So both women go down. This leads us into our finish as Tay Conti catches Garrett with 4 pump kicks in the corner and then the DDT for the win. Like I said, this was a fun little showcase match, and Tay Conti obviously getting the win here was the right call. And I'm excited to see what they go from here with, especially with Santana Garrett, because she is a good talent and she really showed that in this match. From there, we get a really long top guy slash America's top team and inner circle feud recap package. It was really long. It was really long, and it might have overstayed its welcome just a bit. But the overall style of this promo package was noteworthy in that it felt like a documentary. They did interview bits with Tony Schiavone and Excalibur in between clips and just explaining the magnitude of this, of all the people involved, especially from the top guy's perspective, or America's top team, whatever you like to call them, with Junior Dos Santos. Because me personally, I'm not very familiar with MMA. I kind of checked out of that scene. I never was really that big into it, but I really checked out in the last 5 years. So I didn't know who Junior Dos Santos was. Really, I don't know who any of the MMA players are. I didn't watch that live. So it was great to see them recap that, really explain the importance of them stepping in the ring. To be honest, this is the best part of their feud so far, and it still sticks even after watching Dynamite from last night. This is definitely my favorite part of their feud, which is unfortunate, but it did get me a little bit more excited for the Rampage match. But anyways, moving on from there, we have one of my favorite wrestlers, period, in the world, Bobby Fish, taking on Lee Moriarty. I finally learned how to say his last name. I had to practice that. So before this match gets underway, AEW is officially Taiga style as Lee Moriarty has signed with All Elite following this match. So that's a great signing. I think he proved a lot in this match and just how smooth of a worker he is. I think he's only been on the scene for like 5 years and young. I mean, this is going to be someone to watch out for. As long as he can get a character behind him, which I think they can do. Main experience playing into the factor here of the story of the match, as they trade strikes early on, but as like Taz was saying, like you don't want to do that against Fish because Fish has so much of a martial arts background, and he turns out to be right as Fish like just takes control. He has him in a bunch of holds, which I always love to see, like transitions from hold to hold to hold. Uh, Fish is in control for most of this match. Excalibur and Taz again, like they're just great in this match. Lee targets Fish's left arm for the entirety of this match. Lee starts to make a comeback with like a seated cave in for two. Fish hits him with a nice roundhouse kick and a backdrop suplex to cut off that momentum. And then finally, Bobby Fish finishes him off with that leaping knee into an exploder suplex into the ropes, which looked rough. Lee looked like he landed on his head because it wasn't in the corner, it was on the ropes itself. Finally, we get a buzzsaw kick, very reminiscent of like Tajiri's old finish, that buzzsaw kick. And yeah, like I said, great showing for Lee. This is the first match I've ever watched of his. I've seen plenty of clips on Twitter from like GCW shows and stuff. So to see him in a full one-on-one match with one of my favorite workers was a real treat. I really enjoyed this. It only went about 8 minutes, but it was definitely fun. From there, we have the main event of the buy-in. Bryan Danielson takes on Minoru Suzuki. And boy, if you have not seen this match, you need to see this match. This is one of those matches where it really sucked that I had to take notes for it because I just wanted to soak it in. And I think I did a great job of soaking it in, even though I took notes, because gosh, this match was so much fun. This is just two just mean men going after each other, hard strikes, great counter wrestling in this match, and a built-in story as well. As we all know, like the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, and Minoru Suzuki just share such a mean streak in their characters, and they have faced off before in 2004, as they mentioned throughout this match, and Minoru Suzuki was on the winning end of that match. So to see this match here today, it was pretty freaking cool. I mean, this was a dream match. What can I say? So let's get to the action here. As early on, each man are just showing they have absolutely no fear of the other man. They're welcoming attacks. You know how Suzuki gets. He loves to just get his opponent riled up, getting him to hit him. Get a great moment as like Bryan is cornered by Suzuki, and Bryan starts to like punk out Suzuki, like trying to get out the corner, but also trying to punk him out. Like, don't come any closer because you're gonna get in trouble. It's a fantastic moment. Um, then we get the classic like chop exchange from both. I think this is where Bryan is like throwing kicks and Minoru is giving him stiff chops. Minoru eventually changes strategies and hits a forearm that absolutely drops Bryan, and Bryan sells this like he got knocked out. He does eventually get up. He's pissed off now. He hits those hammer strike elbows. Minoru retreats to the apron, but it was playing possum as he locks in an armbar over the ropes, one of my favorite spots. Suzuki has control from there, but finally Danielson runs Suzuki into a post and hits a flying knee off the apron. Suzuki starts absorbing Danielson's kicks like a freaking demented Kirby character. We get the Danielson stomps, and then he tries to lock in cattle mutilation, but he can't get Suzuki flat on his stomach, so it's not all the way locked in. So then he realizes, okay, I'm going to turn with him. So he turns him into a pin. Suzuki barely kicks out. His shoulders were like fully trapped in this pin, but he does kick out, and I mean a legit kick out. Danielson starts nailing corner drop kicks, but Suzuki unfazed, hulks out of those. Danielson eats like a penalty kick, and he sits up, asks for more. Suzuki does it again. He asks for more. He sits up again, and then he gets a third one, and he can't get up from that one. Danielson is eventually able to lock in the label lock, and then he transitions the label lock into a Rings of Saturn, which look absolutely brutal. Suzuki then rolls himself like into a pinning predicament. So he rolls himself up essentially But he does this because he knows that his feet will hit the ropes if he's in a pinning predicament, and it does, and it breaks the hold. Absolutely fantastic strategy from there. And I love to see wrestlers think, because I think that's, one of the main complaints of non-wrestling fans have is, well, like, oh, it's staged. That these moments when you do something like that, it brings out the realness that wrestling can have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I absolutely love that spot. So from there, we get another forearm exchange as these two are just going blow for blow. Suzuki does not cover up at all, and then he returns the favor with a haymaker. And this gets Bryan to really hulk up. They both start swinging at each other until they can't, so they fall down, each of them. And then for the finish here, Danielson avoids a Gotch style pile driver. He hits like a backdrop, and then they just start running the ropes. And out of nowhere, a flying knee to the face, and Danielson has his win back over from Minoru Suzuki. And like I said, this was a match of the year candidate. So far, it is my favorite match this year, and that's tough. And AEW has been filling up that list for me. Before that was probably that. The Lucha Bros Young Bucks cage match. This was just such everything I like in wrestling all combined. Just brutal, hard hitting match. It reminds me of a Walter match, and it also reminds me that I want Bryan Danielson versus Walter in the near future. But let's not get our hopes up, guys. So that was the finish to the buy-in. We did have like a recap package for Punk and Sydel explaining their history, and then it transitions into Rampage, and Punk and Sydel open up Rampage with their match. This was a really fun match. It was definitely a test of Punk's cardio. They kept mentioning that 1,000 times on commentary that like Punk's cardio is going to be really tested here because Sydel is a constant worker and he's going to keep this pace up. And he did. The pace of this match was insane. And for Punk to keep up with him was like, a real testament to this guy's return. I think it's just another chapter in his story here. But let's start off at the beginning as both men go hold for a little bit. Sydel locks in a bow and arrow stretch. Punk escapes and comes back with a couple of classic body slams. I believe he gets two of them off. They then trade more holds, and they're really selling that Punk's cardio is going to be tested here. Sydel eventually breaks out and gets a nice windmill kick and a sliding knee in the corner. Out on the apron, Punk plays possum to lower Sydel onto the apron with him, and then he hits him with a body slam on the apron. It looked rough. And a body slam is just such a classic pro wrestling move, and you really only think about it in the 80s. At least I only think about a body slam like as an 80s move. To see it being incorporated in this match and the way that Punk's been incorporating lately, I really enjoy it. He then hits a nice tope atomico, a nice little reference to Eddie there. He gets a two. Punk sets up Sydel on the top, and he looks for a superplex on the outside. The classic spot that I think is becoming a little overdone because no one's ever going to hit it anymore, Unless there's a table out there, they're not going to do it. But that's beside the point. Both men start to punch each other, and then they fall off, and they have to beat the count back into the ring. Sydel then hits some great strikes and nearly gets a three off a jumping knee strike, and it looked a little too close for comfort there. Punk reverses a lightning spiral attempt into a classic neck breaker. This allows him to get that rising knee in the corner and follows it up with a short arm clothesline for two. Punk goes up top, possibly looking for that classic elbow of his, that Macho Man elbow, but he gets caught up with like just the fastest Hurricane Run I've ever seen. Sydel didn't even climb the ropes; he just kind of like Dragon Ron'd his way up there. Sydel then he locks in like an STF, but Punk reverses out of it into an Anaconda Vice, but Sydel gets out of that. Sydel gets out of a GTS attempt, hits a huge roundhouse kick and a lightning spiral for two. This plays into the finish as Punk is down. Sydel goes to the top. Punk gets out of the way. Sydel looks for like a crucifix, but but Punk muscles him up onto his shoulders, hits the GTS for the three. It really came out of nowhere that finished it, and man, this match was a lot of fun. And at first, I wasn't really too big on this like Sydel Punk match because, well, it just didn't have much heat behind it. It didn't really have a reason to be happening. But once it's got going, I didn't care about the story. This was just two great workers having a good match. And that's all I can really ask for, I guess. From there, we have Ruby Soho taking on the Bunny. We get a couple of nice arm drags to start off this match from Ruby. She hits a nice knee for a quick pin. The Bunny comes back with her own knee lift and drop kicks Ruby's head into the turnbuckle. And this starts a pattern throughout this match as the Bunny is like targeting Ruby's neck and head, and the turnbuckles are going to come into play a lot. And yeah, a lot of scary spots. Felt like a Kota Ibushi match where you're like, all right, man, stop dropping yourself on your head. But anyways, Ruby looks to make a comeback, but the Bunny trips Ruby off the ropes, and as Ruby falls, she hits the back of her head on the turnbuckle again. So another one. Back from the break, Ruby makes a comeback with a flurry of forearms and drives the Bunny's head into the turnbuckle. She goes for that sliding forearm to the back of the Bunny's head. She gets it for 2. Bunny then chop blocks Ruby, hits a cheeky Nando's. It's that super kick where they tuck in the head into the turnbuckle. I hate that spot, but it was effective. She hits that and then immediately transitions for a middle rope German suplex. She gets 2 off of that. She's looking to finish this match off. She looks for the rabbit hole, but Ruby transitions into a backslide for the win. Really impressive showing from the Bunny here. Absolutely. And it was my favorite match of hers by far. They gave us a ton of time, and it felt like it had heat. So I really enjoyed it. Penelope Ford comes out, though, and starts attacking Ruby. They both beat down Ruby and get the brass knuckles out. Boom. So this we're going to continue seeing, especially it's going to play into Dynamite as well, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So the main event of Rampage is the Inner Circle. This is Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, and Sammy Guevara taking on America's Top Team, Junior Dos Santos, Ethan Page, Scorpion Sky, and Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal? Tough name. He's on the corner. He's on the outside. He's like managing role this time. We get the classic Mark Henry split screen interview before the match. During the match, couldn't help but notice that everyone wore their best gear. Everyone on both sides. And then there's Junior with his blue basketball shorts just standing. It's just sticking out like a sore thumb. I think someone should have told him to get some different gear, at least some black trunks to match his crew. But that's a nitpick on my part. The match rolls on. It's kind of fast paced. It's like Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara are in there first. Eventually, Junior Dos Santos does get into the ring. He gets met with Chris Jericho, and he starts beating him down. And Jericho's selling for him really well. Kind of felt as a little bit clunky there. Jericho tags in Hager, and Hager turns things around. They're going blow for blow, and then Hager like gets a nice takedown. But then he is caught with like a knee lift from Junior Dos Santos. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of liked the Hager Junior chemistry in that ring for a minute. I felt like Hager knew how to work with him, because obviously Junior is more of a shoot style wrestler, and he's a striker more so than a grappler. So Hager really came in with some nice like technical stuff to really sell the whole moment. So yeah, I like their chemistry. I wouldn't mind seeing those two go at it again. So we get Jericho back in the ring after a break, and he like avoids, I think, Ethan Page. He avoids Ethan Page, goes to the outside, and gets in Jorge's face. So this plays into the finish as Chris has Scorpio Sky in the walls of Jericho, but the ref gets distracted by, I forget her name, but, America's Top Team. They distract the ref. And then Jorge gets in the ring, hits a sliding knee on Chris. Sky rolls over, gets the pin on Chris, and America's Top Team win here tonight. They storm the ring immediately after. They don't really even celebrate. They start beating down Chris. They celebrate a little bit. LAX make their way to the ring to make the save. They were a little late, I felt like. Like, they didn't do that much because Chris Jericho was already getting beat up a lot. So that's how we ended Rampage. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of this feud. I don't think they're getting over anyone here that they need to, which the people they need to be getting over is Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, and I really feel like they're not doing that with this feud. Like I said, I just not big into it. I think that the best part of this match was actually Hager and Junior Dos Santos going at it a little bit. Like, I felt realish, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, nothing to write home about. Not the best main event. But I'm curious to see where this is gonna lead. Not necessarily curious in a good way, but like I don't know where this is going. I mean, there's blood and guts, there's Stadium Stampede, and there's like you can do a typical Survivor Series eliminator match, I guess. So I don't know where exactly this is heading. Hope it ends soon though, and I'm pretty sure the Inner Circle are going to end up on top here. I think this is going to be America's Top Team's only victory in this feud, which again is kind of a waste. So I don't know. That's my biggest complaint about AEW right now is this feud, and really that doesn't take up too much of my time, so I'm not that mad about it. Following this, though, we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite. So I guess maybe let me overall wrap up the buy-in Rampage, um, atmosphere, vibe, whatever. This was good. This was a very good 2 hours of wrestling, especially with the 1 hour buy-in being commercial free. It was fantastic, and we had a match of the year on it, guys. We literally had a match of the year free on YouTube, and so I can't complain too much. Overall, for AEW Rampage, I'm gonna give that. Oh man, I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars to be honest, because it flew by, and that Danielson match is carrying this score for me. Um, yeah, man, that was really good. That was really good wrestling. So let's get on to the next portion of this review as we had AEW Dynamite on Saturday. I caught this late. I wasn't able to watch live, but I caught this morning, and I gotta say I really enjoyed Dynamite. I really enjoyed it, and I think the crowd for this really helped out a lot. I should have mentioned it in the Rampage as well. They're in Miami, and the crowd were really helping this card all the way through from beginning to end. We start off Dynamite though with Malaki Black taking on Dante Martin, who has his new manager Lio Rush by his side. Early on, Dante's trying to get some momentum going, but he gets cut off by Malachi. He's going for like a dive on the outside. Malachi cuts him off. Black then catches Dante out of the sky for like a super gnarly power bomb inside the ring, and he transitions that power bomb immediately into a single leg crab, which is great strategy, really slowing down the high flyer. And for the rest of the match, Dante is going to be selling his knee. Dante is working like extra malice tonight. Just every move has more force behind it, and it felt like it hurt. Every time Dante goes up high, Black goes for the leg. He's just tripping him up or like countering it that way. Dante is eventually able to come back with a nice poison Rana uh, that sends Black to the ramp. So it creates some distance for him that he desperately needed. Dante then hits a springboard senton to the outside, and he does it by hopping onto the top rope without any hands, and it scared me because like that's so hard to do, guys. But he does hit it. He hits that senton. He throws Black back in the ring. He goes for like his 2 jump moonsault that he always does, but no one was home, so he has to land on his foot. And so again, his foot is getting hurt here. Black starts striking him, but he's meeting him. Again, nice strike exchange there. Black then eventually nails a middle rope Meteora, follows that up with a roundhouse kick and a snap German suplex for 2. And that roundhouse kick sounded like it was a bullet, like it was loud. Black takes Dante up top, and it was a big mistake as Dante was able to hit an avalanche Hurricane Rana. Uh, he gets his moonsault to follow after that, but he's too slow to make the cover. He does get the cover though. Uh, Black reverses the cover into another deep single leg Boston Crab. And the only reason it seems like Dante got out of it is because Malachi suddenly like was selling his ribs. I don't know if Dante kicked him. I couldn't see it. But he's selling his ribs. This leads into the finish as Dante goes for another springboard, but instead eats a Black Mass for 3. And as you know, he's going for this springboard again. Lio Rush tells him, "Don't do it. Don't go for this." Like he knows not to go for this high spot, and of course, he does it anyway and loses because of it. So Lio Rush very disappointed in Dante, and we're gonna hear more about that later on. But yeah, that was a really fun match, really fast-paced match, and Malachi Black was working on another level in that match. From here, we have a Jungle Express interview. It's just Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy's explaining how everyone's kind of still banged up. Christian's not there because he has a neck injury. Jungle Boy's feeling the effects, and that Luchasaurus And he's like, Luchasaurus can barely stand after that power bomb from the Elite, which we all know was a botched maneuver. This brings out Kenny Omega and Adam Cole, and they start yelling and berating Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And this allows the Young Bucks to attack from behind. They nail a double super kick on the Jungle Boy. Adam Cole locks him in like that camel clutch to Jungle Boy and makes him watch as Omega and the Bucks lift up Luchasaurus for a power bomb through the table, completing the spot that they botched last week. I really like that storytelling. And yeah, just a fun little beat down there segment. And it's going to play into later on in the night. But following that, we have Inner Circle and America's Top Team in a little promo battle. The only notes I took on this, because this was absolutely nothing and accomplished pretty much nothing. Ortiz was looking jacked. If you notice his jumpsuit, he was looking jacked. That's my only notes here. Wasn't really much to talk about. Following that, we have the Lucha Bros defending their AAA tag team titles against a mystery team from Andrade. This mystery team came out. They looked like Green Power Rangers. Las Superanas was their name. Of course, it gets revealed that it's FTR. CM Punk calls it out before the reveal, which I kind of enjoyed. He's like, am I the only one seeing this? But I'm not gonna lie, I liked FTR's gear here, especially when they took their mask off. I thought they kind of looked like Rey Mysterio's Halloween Havoc '97 gear, but green. I liked it. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, the Lucha Bros look to unmask FTR pretty early on, and they eventually do. It's a fantastic little spot there, where I think no one is surprised that it's FTR under there. It's a good bit. It didn't overstay its welcome as well, which in WWE when they do these like masked people, they win in their mask, and I never like that because people who don't normally wrestle in a mask shouldn't be able to beat people. You know what I mean. Like they shouldn't be able to win because wrestling with a mask takes years to really like get under your wing. And especially in this match, if they would have kept their mask on the whole time, then it really would have been insulting because the Lucha Bros obviously are masked competitors and they've been doing that for years. But yeah, so they get unmasked early on. The Bros have control early on as well. They hit that big double dingus drop kick for a close to like a double count two. We get stereo planchas to the outside from the Lucha Brothers, and it just amazes me every time they do stuff like that. Eventually, FTR does gain control as Cash takes out Penta on the outside, and Tully Blanchard runs into the ring and distracts the referee, and that allows Dax Hartwood to use the AAA titles on Ray, and then he finishes them off with a brainbuster for a dirty 3 count. And we have new AAA tag team champions, you guys. The FTR. FTR are the new AAA tag team champions. I loved it. I loved it. I can't wait for a rematch because if you are a viewer of this show, you know I love FTR. They are my favorite tag team, and I love the Lucha Bros. They're probably my second favorite tag team. So to have these guys in the same ring together is a dream for me, and I can't wait for the blow-off match for this. So yeah, they won AAA tag team titles. They're the best luchadors in the world, so I don't see why not. From here, we get a Lio Rush and Dante Martin interview. Lio Rush has some great quotes here. He says, "Experiences like tonight needed to happen because it's growing pains. What did I tell you? Listen to me and everything will be money. Because of what happened tonight, Dante is going to have a new tag team partner, and his name is Lio Rush." I liked this promo. It was short. It was simple. It was substantial because now Dante is going to be in the tag division again, but this time with Lio Rush as his partner. And it didn't harp on Lio Rush's like money gimmick. And I think it's smart to keep away from that, especially with the Hardy family, stuff, as that's their gimmick. So as long as they turn this into Lio truly coaching Dante and then probably turning on Dante, which is going to be a fantastic match, I'm fine with it. I thought this was good. From here, FTR are like fleeing the scene. They are in the stairwell. Tony Schiavone comes up, and FTR are just trying to leave. MJF meets them there in the stairwell. He gives them a big hug to FTR. They look so proud of each other. And then Andrade is right behind FTR, obviously. And so MJF's like, "All right, go, 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 get out of here." And so MJF asks Andrade for his money, for loaning out FTR tonight. Andrade asks cash or check, and MJF says both, which I think is not. Why would you do both? That's just more complicated for your bank teller. But anyways, MJF then gives Andrade a hug, takes his money, and leaves. But he tells Andrade that remember this is a one night deal. As he's leaving, Andrade kind of gives him a look as MJF's back's turned. So I would not mind seeing an Andrade MJF feud. I also wouldn't mind, Andrade pursuing FTR as like his guys now, taking him out of the Pinnacle and really, cracking away at the Pinnacle because you already have the bad relationship between Wardlow and MJF. I think that, and if this happens, if FTR starts to get torn away by Andrade, you're only gonna have Sean Spears left, and that's a good story for me. I like it. From here, we get a really fast match. Jon Moxley taking on Wheeler Yuta. Uh, I like Wheeler Yuta. He got no offense here in this match. Mox comes out with a head of steam and immediately tears into Wheeler with some crossface forearms in the ropes, hits him with an X-Plex, and then a paradigm shift for 3. This match happened like that. He storms out the ring. Doctor comes in to look at Yuta. Genuinely, I was a little concerned when the doctor got in and they kind of harped on it a while. But they also focus on Orange Cassidy, who helps you to leave the ring, and he looks like he wants a piece of Moxley after this, which I'm excited for. Gives out a serious tone in Orange Cassidy, which we don't often get. So from there, we have a Serena Deeb interview. Tony Schiavone asked her about this new attitude change of hers, and she said she had to drag this division back to her level. She's tired of everyone having so much fun around here. She's immediately cut off and attacked by Hikaru Shida, and it ends like that. Just really fast segment. I really enjoyed that little bit of talking from Serena Deeb, just giving not really an explanation, but it was good, and I can't wait to see their blow off match because that match was fantastic. From here, we have the Super Kliq. That's the Young Bucks and Adam Cole taking on the Dark Orders in a trios match. And I believe it's John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Evil Uno representing the Dark Order. Ross is calling out the Dark Order the entire time they're on the way to the ring because he's thinking, well, he's kind of right. They're being too cocky on their way to the ring. He's like, they need to prove that they are a tag team. They don't need to be doing all this showboating. Sure enough, the Dark Order are doing their claw. Can you see me? Claw in the ring, and they get attacked from behind by the Kliq. The Dark Order do come back pretty fast as the Kliq were looking to do an assisted powerbomb on Silver's. Silver Hurricane Run is out of that. Alex Reynolds hits a huge crossbody from the top rope to the outside, and this evens the odds. And they maintain control for the most part of this match until later on, Alex Reynolds looking for like a tope suicida through the ropes, and Cole cuts him off, and they really start attacking from there. Eventually, Evil Uno pulls out Mr. Sacco and, starts to do the mandible claw. But then he gets caught up in the camel clutch by Cole. The Bucks start running the ropes, and we all know where this is coming. They're going to kiss Adam Cole very tenderly, but no, Silver and Reynolds yank them out the ring, and they give Cole a big old smooch on the cheek, to much chagrin from Adam Cole. They start hitting their finishes on like the Bucks or on Cole. They're doing like that super kick, the stunner, the German suplex, and then Evil Uno hits like his version of the bitter end. I think it's called something evil, I think is the name of it. But the pin gets broken up because Evil Uno is celebrating too early. If he would have, caught up and just made sure the Bucks didn't get in the ring, they would have won it. So this plays in the finish as Reynolds and Cole have a really good like striking exchange, double pump kicks to each man. But then Reynolds gets caught with a double super kick from the Bucks. This gets transitioned to a Panama Sunrise, a BTE trigger, and then a last shot for 3. They absolutely murdered Alex Reynolds here. As they're celebrating, though, Jungle Boy attacks, and eventually the Elite, sorry guys, the Elite retreat, and Brandon Cutler is the only one left in the ring, so Jungle Boy puts him in the snare trap, and no one helps Cutler. Following this, we got a pretty weird video package from Cody Rhodes and the Nightmare Family. Um, it was it didn't hit. It hit for a little bit and then it didn't. So I'm gonna talk about this as best as I can because I kind of felt it was all over the place. So it like starts with a shot of Cody getting to the Nightmare Factory, and they open up the garage door, and like all the recruits are just standing there, and they start berating Cody for being late. And I think someone slaps him. Then once they're in the actual factory, whatever, Arn's having Cody run a drill where like everyone is coming at him at the same time, so he's getting overwhelmed with offense, and he can't do it. He can't take on all these recruits at the same time. And then Arn tells him about how Dusty used to get cheered as he whooped Arn, and he says, I had it coming back then. I can admit that now." And so does Malaki Black. It was like I said, this had good bits. Like I really enjoyed the filming and the setting. The dialogue could have been better, and especially the ending was kind of weird. It didn't really make much sense to me. I think they could have done without that whole Dusty bit, and it would have been a better segment. It would have been more about, like Cody just losing his ways, I guess. I don't know. It's not the best. It's definitely the worst thing they've done for this feud so far, and it's still not that bad. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. From here, we have an MJF promo. He comes down the ring. As we all know, he was supposed to have a match with Darby, but obviously him and the Pinnacle attacked Darby Allin last week. So he comes out. He's like, "I'm ready to start my match with Darby." And he calls him out. He says that he calls out for Wardlow eventually. He starts running down the crowd. It was kind of a lot of nothing for a little while, but the main point is him saying he had no clue that Darby had been attacked, but he still has Wardlow come down the ring, and Wardlow is just like clinching a ref, tosses him into the ring, and MJF tells him to start the 10 count. So referee does. He starts counting to 10. He gets to 9, and the lights go out. Snow starts falling from Miami, and Sting is here. He comes out with his bat. It's a stare down. It's Wardlow and MJF in the ring with Sting. And MJF shoves Wardlow right into Sting as Sting hits him in the gut with his baseball bat. And this allows MJF to escape. He escapes up to the ramp, and then he looks like he's going to come back into the ring. So Sting drops his bat, actually. And so he looks like it's about to be a brawl, but no, of course not. MJF just leaves. From there, segment went on a little too long, to be honest. A little bit too long. But I mean, MJF, Sting, and Wardlow, this whole thing is kind of fun. I like it. And it's still playing into Wardlow, getting the crap end of the stick here from MJF. So I think that story is going to continue for a little bit longer. And I can't wait to see that come to a head, by the way. From here, we have an Anna Jay interview. She's interrupted pretty quickly by Britt Baker, and Britt just calls the Dark Order losers, and essentially saying that since you hang out with losers, you are a loser. And this sets off Anna Jay, and they start brawling. But nothing really comes of that, except for, nothing comes of that yet. It is announced next week, I believe on Rampage or Dynamite. They're one of two shows that they are going to have a world title match. Following this, though, we have Penelope Ford taking on Kiera Hogan. This was a pretty competitive match. I didn't take many notes for this. I thought, it was kind of just an exhibition match. This does eventually come to an end when Penelope Ford hits a handspring cutter and locks in a Mutilock for the tap out victory. This immediately after the match, though, Ruby Soho comes out and she attacks Penelope Ford and sends her out onto the ramp where the bunny has to make the save. So continuing on this feud, I like it. It has heat. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do from here. If Ruby's going to need a partner or what. Because a lot of the theme here is like, you need friends in AEW. And Ruby Soho is a loner right now. So, interesting stuff. This might have been my favorite segment coming up from Dynamite. It is definitely, it might have been my favorite talking bit of the entire weekend. As Miro is yelling at God. Yelling at God. He's basically asking him why that God has not given him a reason why he lost. He's blaming God for his defeat to Sammy Guevara. And he has just one of my favorite lines I've heard in a while. "If you stay silent over my head, I will snap necks under my foot." Yeah, just a really good line there. Just explaining that the longer he doesn't get an answer, the more people are going to suffer. And I love it, guys. I absolutely love this. I hope this leads to a Miro versus God feud. You know, they have the spotlight come down. No, I don't. I don't wish that. But I think it's going to lead to something good. Miro has been absolutely on a tear, both in the ring and with these vignettes. So I'm excited. From here, we have a Hangman Adam Page interview in the ring with Tony Schiavone. He says that he's excited for Full Gear. He talks about leaving Ring of Honor and New Japan to start this company and the failures he's had along his journey and the toll on on his confidence it's had. All those failures have had. He says that the one thing he never lost was the support of these fans, and that throughout it all, one thing kept getting louder and louder, and that was the cowboy shit. And he talks about the philosophy behind cowboy shit and how that drove him to grab the poker chip to secure his spot for the world title match at Full Gear. He says he knows the fans believe in him, and for the first time in his life, he does too. This was just fantastic promo from Hangman Page. He's really likable. The crowd loves him. I love him. I can't wait to see that match. I think he's gonna win it, and it's gonna be a huge moment. And yeah, and this promo really was just perfect too. It simplified the journey that the person Adam Page has had, and I think he is the most fleshed out character in AEW. Like, we know all of his motivations, and we understand who he is as a person. So I really enjoyed this. Let me grab a quick drink, you guys, as we head into the main event. As Bryan Danielson took on Bobby Fish. So this is both men's second match in 2 nights. And like I said, I think I've made myself very clear here. Bobby Fish is one of my favorite workers, and obviously Bryan Danielson is as well. So we had a fantastic match here. Fish is looking to bring the heat early on with some stiff strikes. They made a point of saying the time difference between each of their matches last night, that Bobby Fish only had to wrestle for 8 minutes while Danielson wrestled for nearly 20. And the quality of opponent Danielson had, obviously, in Suzuki, just, it does cast doubt, not really, but they tried to. Danielson looks for his classic comeback, the backflip over the top rope deal. He looks to hit that flying clothesline, but gets cut off with another stiff kick to the gut. Danielson does eventually come back, though, with a tope suicida. He looks to hit something off the apron, possibly another flying knee, but Fish chops him down on the apron with another kick. Fantastic spot there. We go to the break. We come back. Danielson gets an ankle lock locked in to Fish, and he quickly transitions that, and he traps Fish's leg and hits a German suplex. I love that spot. Danielson starts to pick at the ankle some more, and he slams Fish's leg onto the ring post a couple times. Fish blocks the yes kicks with a beautiful high angle backdrop suplex that nearly finishes off Danielson. Bobby Fish then hits a avalanche Falcon arrow off the top rope, obviously, for a pin. And yeah, that move was fantastic. He gets that for a pin, but only gets two. As Bryan kicks out, though, Fish transitions into a knee bar. And so they're down there on the ring. Fish has this knee bar in, and it looks like Danielson has one in too. And so they just start stomping each other in the head, with both men still holding on to their knee bars. Eventually, though, Danielson is able to turn his knee bar into a nasty, nasty heel hook for the win. And commentary made a great point of just how effective heel hooks are. It's literally, you have to tap or your leg will snap. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, just fantastic technical outing from both men. And man, I love seeing Bobby Fish in AEW. I absolutely love it. He's a former Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, and it shows when he's in that ring. So after that, though, we get the AEW Eliminator tournament bracket. It's announced. We get a nice graphic for it. And so I thought I talked about that a little bit. I can go over, I guess, who's in the tournament, the A side and the B side. So starting over on the A side, it is Jon Moxley versus Dark Order's 10, which that looks like it's going to be another squash match. And then Orange Cassidy is taking on Powerhouse Hobbs, and that's going down next week on Rampage, I believe. That should be a really fun match, actually. My early prediction there for that A block, I definitely see Moxley and Cassidy in the finals, or the semifinals. And I honestly, with the way this is going down, I wouldn't be shocked if Orange Cassidy makes it to the finals. So let's talk about the B side though. B side features Dustin Rhodes taking on Bryan Danielson. That's gonna be a really fun match. I think that's a sleeper for sure. And then Lance Archer is gonna take on Eddie Kingston. That's gonna be a brutal match. Obviously, the B side is looking a little more stacked, if you ask me. Um, I don't know who's going to be in that finals from the B side because, I mean, the obvious answer is Bryan Danielson, right? If Bryan Danielson wins the B side, he kind of has to win the tournament because I don't think he's going to take a loss to anyone on the A side. But my early prediction for the finals is Orange Cassidy versus Bryan Danielson. I think that's going to be the match. And I think that Cassidy either is going to lose clean or Moxley's going to somehow cost Cassidy the match. You know what I would like to see now that I'm actually thinking about this? If you guys remember the first NXT UK Championship tournament, how like Pete Dunne, I forget who he took out. He took out somebody like right before the semifinal match, or maybe it was right before the semifinals. He took out somebody, and then that led to obviously Pete Dunne going to the finals. I would kind of like to see Moxley do that. It's kind of like a subtle heel turn, but I don't think the crowd's ever going to boo him, so I think it's kind of safe to do. He attacks Cassidy. I think that'd be kind of cool, and then that could lead to a story once Moxley loses to Danielson. And it could lead to a story between him and Cassidy, which I think would be beneficial for Orange Cassidy, obviously, in making him a little more of a serious character. Which, of course, I don't think that anyone needs to be super serious. I think that Orange Cassidy is definitely though one of those guys that can find a good mix, kind of like Big E, where he can turn on the charm and also be serious in that ring, but just in different ways. So yeah, you guys, that was AEW Dynamite. That was 4 hours of wrestling content that I absolutely enjoyed. I will say the pacing of these shows felt really well done because they flew by. The only lulls they had were the parts that revolved around America's Top Team. So I'm kind of hoping that comes to an end soon. Yeah, and let me know what you guys think about that Eliminator tournament bracket. Who you guys see coming out of that? And do you see the winner of that actually beating whoever is the champion at the time, Hangman Page? Because that's going to be very interesting, especially if we get Danielson and Hangman. That's gonna be an absolutely fantastic match. But anyways, you guys, I've taken up enough of your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you're here this long. If you don't give it a thumbs up after this long, it's kind of rude on you guys. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.